equality paved the way to ensure we treated each other humanely. Order and freedom was on the agenda in a world that refused to surrender. And it all looked good on paper, but somehow the letter was returned to the sender. We cancel each other out like zebra stripes and broken piano keys. Broken melodies and harmonies form a mashed up symphony. When did the sing-song go so wrong? Was the deviant current just too strong? Unaware of the disorder that lurked within us, we drafted a standard that defeated us. That which was meant to bring liberation reeks of captivity. By default, human nature's corrupt to the core. We make plans to obey but rebel all the more. Like placing greens before tigers and demanding vegetarian carnivores. The world screams for a makeover, whatever the cost. But without redeemed hearts, it's just paradise lost. Last time I checked, we had rights to be free. Rights to life, liberty, and security seem to have escaped you and me. We're nations united in anarchy. As the world reads me my universal rights, the reality reflects the crisis internally. The crisis internally. The crisis internally. The crisis internally. The crisis
All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person.
Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law.
No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile.
Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country.
Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages.
The family is the natural and fundamental unit of society, and is entitled to protection by society and the state.
Everyone has the right to seek and to
Hi. Isaiah 61 in verse 1 says that the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners. And do you know, from God's perspective, it's a human right that people, whether it's visible or invisible prisons, can live in freedom, cannot live in darkness, and can don't have to live any longer with a sense of captivity. I want to read to you out of Psalm 10. Bobby actually read from it yesterday, and it's so powerful. It says in Psalm 10, verse 14 and 17. But you, O Lord, do see trouble and grief. You consider it and take it to hand. The victim commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Verse 17. You hear, O Lord, the desire of the afflicted. You encourage them and you listen to their cry. Defending the fatherless and the oppressed, in order that man who is of the earth may terrify no more. I love that Psalm 10 talks about how our God is working across the earth so that human beings who oppress one another can no longer do that. And I love that God says in the Psalms and right through Scripture that He listens to the cry of a human being. When I was 9 years old, I remember my family and I were going out somewhere, and I put my finger, like maybe some of you have done, and I've got a bung finger because of it, my finger on the car door. My brother slammed the door shut, smashed on my fingers, and they didn't break, but I remember as a 9-year-old screaming in pain. But you know what? It was just sore fingers, and they would be dinged for a little while. But it was pain. They are still dinged up all these years later. At 19 years of age, I was involved in a car accident on the Putty Road at Singleton, and a car that swerved and missed our car ended up in a ditch and on fire. And there were 2 older people in this car. And I remember the people that I was with, one of the guys I was with jumped out of the car to rescue these people. And a van full of young men driving across this single-lane bridge. One of them jumped out and helped my friend rescue these people. And they got the people out, and the car was on fire, and the power line was dripping down, starting to wave in the wind. And I will never forget, as a 19-year-old girl who didn't believe in the Lord, didn't believe in God, I will never forget watching that power line hit that young man on the back of the neck and him get thrown across the road. He was electrocuted and he died. And as a 19-year-old, the fight or flight thing kicked in. And I just took off because there was this power line, snaking on the road, and I just took off and ran up a hill, and cars are banking up and people are getting out, and there's this power line snaking on this road. My friend is trying to resuscitate a guy that had his insides burnt out. And I remember standing on a hilltop on the Putty Road at Singleton, yelling out to a God I didn't believe in, God help us! God turn up! God do something! I couldn't believe it. I was just a kid. I didn't believe in anything, but I watched a guy helping another human being die. And the amazing thing is that God heard the cry underneath the no-old 19-year-old. Not too long later, found myself coming to Christ. In Genesis 4, verse 10, it's the first time of when the cry was heard. And it was when Abel was killed by his jealous brother Cain. And it says in the Bible here, let me read it to you. It says, God says to Cain, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. The blood of somebody who was dead was crying out. The injustice of that was crying out to God. And it got God's attention.